So, this is another important ecosystem. The wetlands, including the riparian vegetation. That is the vegetation along the streams. We don't get to see in many places nowadays because everything is turned into real estate. So we don't get to see lots of riparian vegetation. But there are few places, the last remaining places, no, where you get to see the plants are very unique looking, and they have like those kind of habitats. No, they are very vital for this frogs and small fishes and everything. No, and that is these kind of plants are very vital. But the blooms, no, there are few plants. They bloom very nicely. So generally, you get to see a wetland like this way. The aquatic habitat is all very messy looking, and there will be lots of plants. Most of them won't be in bloom. And in Kanyakumari side, you can see most of the wetlands have only lotus. There is, it's like they are farming. They are doing farming in that wetland. So you get to see lots of lotus only. But in between that, there will be some native plants that will be thriving to grow. And below that, you can see this Apanogeton. It's locally called as Kottiklangu, and they have lots of medicinal uses also with that one. And Neptunia, this is at touch me not in this water aquatic plant. You don't get to see this kind of plants in many places nowadays, but when you see them in small ponds, it's a these kind of simple flowers itself is a rare sight nowadays. So that that's a place between the land and the stream. So in between there will be a like a marshy like place, that the riparian zone, and you can see that semi-aquatic plants, and that called this hydrophilic plants. Can see this kind of beautiful plants in this areas. Even outside Chennai, I have seen all these plants because Chennai is a really, it's a marshy area only, no. So in that wherever you see a pond, outside that the edges, you can see these kind of beautiful flowers. And this one is aquatic. These are into fully aquatic. So inside that lake or pond, you will be getting to see this kind of water snowflakes and crested floating heart. This is in one particular pond. I saw this entire thing is covered with this flower, and that's how I realized, okay, this is how many ponds would have looked in the earlier. It's really thriving. That the birds are so happy. The birds are walking everywhere, and the place was thriving with these flowers and everything. There are so many butterflies. I have never seen any ponds like this. That's the first time I saw one plant, one fully healthy aquatic ecosystem, because most of the places is gone in our area. Usually, we don't see that kind of ecosystem as for wildflowers. So that's why I'm trying to say about this one. Even in these kind of ecosystems, you will get to see lots of wildflowers, and the plants around near surrounding these ponds or lakes. No, that is a good, a great habitat for butterflies. Wherever you see that kind of plants, places, no, you will get to see lots of butterflies in that area. Another important ecosystem is the rainforest. So these forests are very famous for orchids because of the high rainfall areas and the dense canopy. It's very much suited for these orchids. The trees will be completely covered with epiphytes, and the orchids will be hanging around everywhere. And when you go in the right season, they will be hanging in all the plants, trees. You can see that the will be like a bouquet is hanging over all the trees. It's like the trees are fully with the flowers, but it's all epiphytes. It's all the orchids. The trees don't bloom, but you will be having the feeling like the trees are in full bloom. Yeah, you can see that Arunachal Pradesh is a hotspot for orchids. And next is the Sikkim. And next in the Sikkim itself, you can see that the West Sikkim, East Sikkim, you will see the complete different kind of flowers. The orchids and the floral species will be totally very different. And then 417 in the Himalayas, and then in the Western Ghats. Compared to that, in the Western Ghats, it is very less. And you get to see this kind of rare parasitic plants also. I have said earlier that about the parasitic plant, but this is also a flower. You won't imagine, you will think this is a fungi, right? But this is a flower. It's a goes on the top is it's a fungi looking, but it's a flower. You can see in this northeast areas in the dense rainfall places, you can see this kind of unique looking plant, parasitic plants. Then another important nice terrain is that Andaman and Nicobar. Here you will get to see this Indo-Malayan region plants. So many things you can see in Southeast Asia will be coming under this Andaman Nicobar. The islands are home to over 2,200 species, and of which nearly 200 are endemic. And because you'll be thinking that Andaman is a very hot weather, because of that hot and the long rainfall time, no, they have this unique weather that is very suitable for these orchids. So the roadside trees look like these, and every branches, everything will be covered with epiphytes. That also, like I said, when you go in the right time, everywhere you can see orchids hanging on the trees. Few beautiful looking orchids from that place. And the thing is, next thing is a scrub. A scrub is one of the few places we think there will be flowers, wildflowers, and that too beautiful wildflowers. But here you can see that in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Odisha, and parts of Karnataka, we have these rain shadow regions where there is less rainfall. But because of that less rainfall, they have this really tough plants in these terrain. So after the rains, no, the less rains, you get to see this floral bloom, the colorful blooms. Even in desert, I was saying, no, it's a very short-living plants. Here, it's not like that. You have some these kind of plants. So you can see the wildflowers blooming for a week, like that, and the blooms are very striking, very attractive. This memicelon, you can see that the plant will be completely covered in blue, this colored flowers, and it will be very fragrant. Lots of plants will be very fragrant. So if you go into that shrub forest, no, the entire place you will be feeling the fragrance, and you will see the colorful flowers. Like the 1 month you will be seeing the all thing is white color, and the next month you get to see all the yellow ones, and the next month you get to see all the blue ones, like that. This also now even outside Chennai outskirts, I have seen lots of shrub forest, that too very much habitat degraded only. Even then, I get to see lots of beautiful wildflowers in these places. This is some of the wildflowers you can see in the Eastern Ghats. And like I said, because of that less rain, no, they will be in the bloom will be in the plants will be lots of will be very thorny, and even that surrounding that small basket like flowers fully covered with the flowers. This one. So this one is the plains grassland. This one is a very unique one, and it's mostly degraded in our places because everyone thinks there is no use for these things, and it's all turned to human habitations. So very few grasslands only left. That also not protected. But something are not touched by humans in the regular use. We get to see this kind of beautiful flowers. And here also after the rains, one time I visited, this is a very dry place. you won't think that you'll be seeing any wildflowers in this place. But after a few rains, I went to this place, and the entire floor is covered with this wildflowers, this Burleria. And all the moths and the butterflies, caterpillars were eating all the flowers, and the place is very vibrant with this one. This solanum, this one is actually a invasive one. But when I first saw this beautiful this plant, it's a very small plant. The entire place was covered with this plant. So I first I thought it's a will look very beautiful. The place was covered with this blue flower. We crossed this place and we came back and we took all the photographs in all the ways were possible. And then later only I learned that this is an aggressive, voracious, invasive plant. So even after lots of learning about everything, no, even I get cheated by like this. I think that's a very, it's a native plant. And I was so happy to see the place was covered with this one. And later I came to know it's a invasive one. So, like I said, why to talk about desert? So the desert blooms are very lovely in many countries. In India, it's not like that, but you still get to see some nice flowers. And there is a misconception that we say everything is cactus. Any thorny looking this kind of plants, no, we say is cactus, but we have no cactus in India. That prickly pear cactus, everything we have is for only for the garden fences only. It's not a native one. So we have this Euphorbiaceae. We have this castor varieties only in India. And you can see this kind of parasitic plant. They are mostly dependent on that nearby shrubs. And you can see these kind of beautiful parasitic plant in desert area. So, like I said, that's very important to know, understand the seasons and blooms along with that. The key season is that for Western Ghats, here is that the primary season is this northeast monsoon. So this is the time, this is October to December. I have already started seeing lots of blooms inside the forest areas. Even 2 days back, I went and I started seeing uh, lots of orchids, ground orchids, and balsams. So this is a season for those kind of flowers in the Shola forest. In February to May, you can see the summer blooms. So you can get to see lots of ground orchids and wild gingers. You can see this ipecac like flowers, and even the trees will be in full bloom. Like and we go in train, and that central India everywhere. No, the Beauty of monospuma will be in full bloom. That place will be covered with orange flowers. In the monsoon bloom, it's during that June to September when we get high rainfall area at that time. That's the time you can see lots of mushrooms and balsams in bloom also. Lots of short living plants, no, they'll be also in bloom during this time, June to September in Western Ghats. The spring blooms in the lower Himalayas. You can see that, like I said, during the March to May, you can see rhododendrons. And the early bloomers like primulas, anemones, or that small plants, no, you can see everything in bloom in that springtime. Before that, you won't see that plants at all. Just after that the snow melts, no, immediately you will get to see all these plants rising nowhere from the soil. Suddenly, everything will be in full bloom. And after that bloom, no, that irises and all, you will be simply seeing the leaves alone all the time. The whole year, you will be seeing only the leaves. That initial few months, no, you will be getting the burst of all these plants. And July to August is that good season to visit that higher altitude places where the snow melts and you get to see that lots that explosion of flowers. and there will be you will be seeing all the lilies and other varieties of flowers you will be getting to see there. So that is a summer season you will be that is a good time to visit higher altitude places in Uttarakhand, in the Himachal, in the northeast Sikkim, everywhere. But if you want to visit see this rhododendron blooms, no, you will be have to visit in April, April to March, April. That is a time to see the rhododendron bloom. But after that, that alpine blooms, no, and you will be getting to see lots of new flowers in July to August. So the Valley of Flowers trek and everything you will be going to have this time. And even this cars, you can you visit this season. That is the time to see this lots of flowers in that particular place. And I have told about this invasive plants. So in tomorrow's session, I will talk about that invasives and the threats of that, and that important places to visit for wildflowers in India, and how to identify and how to start that wildflower walk and everything. We can do it in tomorrow's session.
Thank you,
Any
Madhi.
questions or any?
Yeah, that is what we have some time, so maybe we can take up some question. There is one question
Yeah.
already in the chat box.
Why do some wildflowers thrive in shaded forest areas and while others prefer open grasslands? Some prefer no that's very moist places like in our garden itself we know that the different plants even in this like impatiens, no? Impatiens and Henkilia and Sonarilla, those kind of plants, all these thrive in that shaded forest areas. Even this Calanthe orchid, they need very less sunshade, very less sun, and lots of moisture is needed to keep that. The plants are very small, very tiny, so they don't need this one. So they don't need that full sun. Other plants know which one needs lots of sun and those kind of flowers you can see in the open grasslands. There'll be a totally different type of plants. If flower blooms in the wrong season, it's seasonal is it's all seasonal. No, it's not a mistake or a miracle. It's just that way the nature that particular plants, no, that particular plant's life cycle is like that way. So there will be sometimes, no, the first time when I went to Sikkim, I saw a single rhododendron. I didn't see anything. No plant is in bloom because we went in that just before the blooms. So the entire place is covered with snow, and there is a single wildflower, a single rhododendron, only one bloom that was peeking out of the snow. This is the first one. So after that, if I have after that, after a few years, I started tracking the particular season and everything, and then I went and I got to see that the whole place is covered with rhododendron. So that doesn't mean that the first one has gone early or anything. No, that's the way.
Um,
Cars, for me, it's known for summer only. Because they have that early spring, there will be different flowers, but the summer flowers, no, that is the time that strobila and the scavi and everything is boom. And so it's in August, September, that kind of season. That is the one known for Kars Valley. How altitude affects wildflower distribution is, yeah, that plays a major role. No, that is with the weather and everything. So, and altitude, the higher the altitude, that if the place is completely covered with snow line, there you won't see any flowers. Even in Himalayas or even in Antarctica, anywhere with a completely covered with snow, you won't be seeing anything. So after that, the lower the altitude the goes, you will be starting a different kind of flowers. So in Western Ghats, the altitude for example, if I say in Kanyakumari, the flowers I see in Kanyakumari, you won't be able to see in Kodaikanal or Ooty. The same flower you won't be able to see in Himalayas. That is with the weather and altitude and everything. So the flowers I am saying, no, that Sonarilla, outside Western Ghats, you won't be able to see them. And even in that Sonarilla, only in recent altitude. Um, like I am not saying that even that sort of Sonarilla doesn't grow well a lot in cool weather. So as the weather plays a major part in the plants. So with the altitude, the weather also changes. No, so in the high altitude, it's very cool and the moisture is high in many places. So the different plant varieties are totally different in that area. So you get to see this Ixacum and other orchid species. They grow in that higher altitude. You don't get to see in this lower altitude region. So you can see it's not just with the wildflowers, it's just with any plants. Anywhere when you start going for a trek, no, as the altitude changes, as you start the climb, you can see the gradually how the vegetation changes. In Himalayas, you can see from the junipers, from the coniferous forest, under the coniferous there will be so a few plants that will be thriving, and once the conifers reduced, they once you get to see other plants, there will be uh, the vegetation will be totally different. Like in south, no, initially there will be lots of bamboos and many terminalia like that. You can trees, you can get to see them, and then the vegetation will be slowly changing, and once you start into that sholas, the uh, trees you say there will be totally different, and then you go into the grassland like that. As the vegetation totally changes, the wildflowers also, the distribution is mainly because of the habitat protection also. Mostly our high altitude grasslands are protected, so you get to see lots of flowers over there, lots of native and endemic flora. But in near your houses or around your places, no, you don't get to see lots of wildflowers, native wildflowers, especially native wildflowers. You don't get to see here because of the not protection status. So the invasive has taken over most of the places. Lots of invasive plants everywhere. You can see lots of invasive plants only. So because of that, you don't get to see lots of because of the protection status. Mainly because of the protection status, you don't get to see any lots of wildflowers, native wildflowers near your places. Only in high altitude and inside the core forest areas, you get to see lots of native wildflowers.
So before we rejoined, we had one question. So what is the difference between orchid and aster species?
Orchid and aster species. Or commanded a totally different family. It's Asteraceae. This one is Orchidaceae, and you can see that orchids, no, based on that classification. If you start describing them, that aster families, they have a disc-shaped flowers. You can see that race. Like tomorrow, I will be showing that identification. I can show you that how there will be that. For example, sunflower. You can take sunflower that comes under aster species, and here and this one is no, the last page I have kept. That is a orchid, and you can see that some size and that shapes and everything, no, that is totally different. And the orchids, no, orchids are a big indicator of that forest. Usually if there is a grazing and if there is a places disturbed, you won't be able to see lots of orchids. So if the place is vibrant with orchids, that also is a good indicator of the health ecosystem, like that epiphyte plants, and that's a good weather also. So that's why the orchids are very special, and many people are interested to grow orchids at home and in the because the orchids, the flowers also last for a few weeks. They are very fresh looking, no. So that is a specialty of orchids. That's why spotting the orchids also very special in the wild.
Okay, which terrain in India supports the greatest diversity of wildflowers and why?
In India, it's that for now, whatever I have seen in that in Himalayas, there are places like that particular that's alpine bloom only I'm saying, because like I said, it's protected now. Because of that, it's supporting great diversity. Also, like I said, it's a short bloom. The weather changes rapidly, no, with that snow melting, the winter season. Once the winter season is over, that spring and the summer is a very short time. So you get to see the greatest diversity of wildflowers in this valley of flowers. And many hidden places in Himachal and Uttarakhand, many other places is also there. They all support a great diversity of wildflowers compared to Western Ghats and everything. And in Northeast also, it's a very good places are there. In Arunachal, Eagle Nest Sanctuary, everything has a great diversity. But when you go for a day or two and see a whole bloom of wildflowers, no, it happens only in the alpine areas. Currently, if you go to this valley of flowers, you can see lots of flowers. And something truly be called wild if it lives in harmony with nature. I don't understand this. What are you trying to say?
Mr. Safe, you can unmute yourself and please talk to Madam.
Yes, ma'am. My question was basically like we often refer
It's
fly
breaking for me. Can you
So
hear
if
it?
your
the
voice is not audible,
word
can you please type your
wild.
message? Can you
That
please
is
type
so
your question on the
much
chat box?
and it's a
Oh, I think I
part.
understand what I was saying. It's in the terms of a human life. When we say it's wild, no, it's like a wild child means they are behaving like very erratically. Uh, but in nature, whatever that is living in harmony is with the wild only is nature only is called wild. The wilderness is nature. Nature doesn't go in like seemingly that when you put a line that goes, you have to be in that line. That what in the garden, no. For example, if you are putting some, if you are doing gardening, if you are into gardening, will be very meticulous that the plant has to grow in this particular area. If you grow outside, you will be cutting that plant, you will be shaping that and everything. That's our mindset, that it has to be in that particular area in the particular shape, and this is the design I like it. But in nature, it doesn't go that way. That is the one called wild. So the wild is living in harmony is nature. There is no difference between nature and wild. That is the one. Our human thing only doesn't go sync with the wild, because we are into this strictly monoculture and very much like what routine oriented. So for us, it has to be everything the particular design in the particular format. But in the wild, it doesn't go in that way, right? The plants, that's why you can see everywhere it's completely covered with bushes. In the forest areas, you can't do any cutting or keeping it in line. They will grow wild. That is with nature. I think that's the question you asked.
I think he has some network issues. That's okay. So we will end our today's session here and we will join all together for tomorrow's session at 7 p.m. again. So thank you so much for all your patience and thank you, Madhi, for giving us a very knowledgeable session. So good night, everyone, and we'll look forward for the tomorrow's session. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.